Welcome back to my channel. Today we explore the value of specific coins, the top 3 most valuable UK Kennedy half-dollar coins value in today's market. So let's get started. First up, the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark, specifically in damaged or so-called dot condition. We'll explore what makes this coin interesting to collectors, what its condition means, and how much it's really worth in today's market. Let's begin by clarifying one important point. While the Kennedy half-dollar is a United States coin, not a UK issue, some collectors might mistakenly refer to it as UK due to confusion with coin listings or foreign market labeling. To be clear, the Kennedy half-dollar is minted by the United States Mint and has been in circulation since 1964. The 1979 edition is one of the more common dates, but there are still some unique aspects worth discussing, especially when it comes to mint marks and condition. The 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. That year, coins from Philadelphia typically didn't carry a mint mark, so the absence of one is not necessarily an error. However, what catches the attention of collectors is any unusual detail on the coin, such as a damaged dot, irregularity in the strike, or any minting anomaly. These features can influence both desirability and market value. When we talk about a coin being in damaged dot condition, we're usually referring to a small, raised or indented area on the coin's surface. This dot might be the result of post-mint damage, like corrosion, contact with another object, or even a strike-through error during production. But most of the time, especially for circulated 1979 half-dollars, this type of mark is from wear or improper handling, not from the mint itself. So, what's the baseline value of a 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark? In circulated condition, a typical example without any unique errors or damage is generally worth around 50 cents, essentially its face value. Because millions of these coins were produced, they're still very common in both pocket change and bankrolls. However, collectors often pay a premium for coins in high grades or those with rare errors. A coin graded MS65 or higher by a professional service like PCGS or NGC might fetch between $3 and $5. But let's focus on the damaged dot condition. If a coin shows signs of wear, damage, or specific imperfections like a dot on its surface, its value typically drops unless that imperfection is considered a legitimate error. Damage from regular use, including scratches, dents, and discoloration, generally reduces collector interest. For most collectors, condition is king. That means, unless the damage itself has a compelling or rare quality, the coin's value remains low. Coins that have damage not related to the minting process are considered environmentally damaged or impaired. For a 1979 Kennedy half-dollar with a dot-shaped blemish from corrosion, a drop of solder, or pitting from improper storage, the resale value is usually under $1. Most coin dealers would offer between 10 and 40 cents, especially if the coin is heavily circulated or unattractive. Now, there are always exceptions. If the dot is actually a result of a striking error such as a die chip, retained coud, or die clashed, then it could become more interesting to error coin collectors. These types of mint errors can sometimes raise a coin's value considerably, depending on rarity and how well documented the error is. In rare cases, error coins from this period have sold for as much as $20 to $50, and sometimes more, if the error is dramatic and authenticated by a grading service. However, it's important to note that most coins described by the public as having a dot are not mint errors but rather the result of post-mint damage. If you believe your 1979 Kennedy half-dollar has an unusual dot or mark that could be an error, it's a good idea to have it examined by a reputable coin dealer or sent to a grading service for authentication. Photos and descriptions online can sometimes mislead sellers or buyers about what they truly have on today's market. Especially in 2025, the coin collecting community is very informed. Online platforms like eBay and heritage auctions have helped create a transparent environment where values are driven by supply, condition, and collector demand. Based on recent sales, a damaged 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark typically sells for no more than $1, even in collectible circles. Coins with extreme wear or heavy surface marks often don't sell at all unless bundled in a bulk lot. To summarize, while the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is a perfectly valid collectible coin, its value in damaged or dot condition is generally very low, usually below $1. The exception is if that dot turns out to be a recognized mint error, in which case the coin should be evaluated by an expert. Most of the time, though, unless the coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition, or part of a certified error series, it holds little premium over face value. So, before you list your coin online or take it to a dealer, be realistic about its condition. A true mint error can fetch a premium, but everyday wear and damage don't usually add fact, they take away from it. Still, every coin has a story, and for many collectors, that story is what makes the hobby worthwhile. Next up, the 1972 Kennedy half dollar with the Denver Mint mark, known as the 1972D. We'll take a closer look at its history, design, mintage, and most importantly, its value in today's market, especially in extra fine condition. Let's begin by exploring a bit of history. The Kennedy half dollar series began in 1964. Introduced just months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the U.S. Mint moved quickly to honor the late president by placing his image on the half dollar, replacing the Benjamin Franklin design. The Kennedy half dollar became an instant icon and has remained a part of US coinage ever since. The 1972D Kennedy half dollar was minted at the Denver Mint in Colorado. That year, over 141 million half dollars were produced with the D Mint mark. This high mintage means the coin is not considered rare in general terms. However, certain conditions and varieties can make it significantly more valuable. Let's focus on the condition of the coin, particularly the extra fine grade. Extra fine, or XF, refers to a coin that has light wear on the high points but still shows strong detail. The luster may be slightly reduced, but overall, the coin still retains much of its original sharpness and appeal. This grade is a mid to upper level circulated grade, ideal for collectors who want a well-preserved coin without paying uncirculated prices. In the case of the 1972D Kennedy half dollar, an extra fine example is typically not extremely rare. However, there are factors that can increase its market value. These include collector demand, the coin's eye appeal, and potential errors or varieties. Now, let's talk about the coin's design. The obverse features a left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The word Liberty runs along the top edge, with "In God We Trust" split on either side of Kennedy's neck, and the date 1972 placed at the bottom. The mint mark D appears just below Kennedy's neckline. The reverse side of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparo, displays a modified presidential seal, a heraldic eagle holding an olive branch in one talon and a bundle of arrows. In the other, a shield covers its chest, and 13 stars form a semicircle above its head. The inscriptions include United States of America around the top and half dollar along the bottom, while the design itself remains consistent. Certain die variations or minting errors can make a coin far more collectible. Although the 1972 Kennedy half dollar is not widely known for major mint errors, there are a few varieties and off-center strikes that can command a premium if discovered in circulation. In today's collector market, a standard 1972D Kennedy half dollar in extra fine condition typically sells for about $1 to $2. This is slightly above its face value, due to collector interest and the fact that half dollars are not as commonly circulated in everyday use as they once were. That being said, prices can vary depending on where and how you buy or sell the coin. Local coin shops, online marketplaces, and auction sites may price coins slightly differently based on supply and demand, or specific collector interest at the time. If the coin has exceptional eye appeal with minimal wear and bright luster, it might sell for a bit more, around $3 to $4, especially if it's part of a well-matched collection or has been properly stored. Coins that are professionally graded and authenticated can also command higher prices, particularly if they fall just on the border between extra fine and almost uncirculated condition. It's important to mention that while the melt value of this coin, meaning the value of its metal content, is low, because it's composed primarily of copper with a nickel coating, the collector value is where any premium comes from. This is not a silver coin, unlike the Kennedy half dollars minted in 1964, which were 90% silver, or the special 40% silver issues from 1965 to 1970. To summarize, the 1972D Kennedy half dollar in extra fine condition is not a rare or high value coin by default. However, it holds steady interest among collectors for its historical significance and design. In today's market, you can expect it to be worth around $1 to $2, possibly more if it is in particularly sharp condition or has an unusual feature. For collectors who enjoy assembling full-day tandem mark sets, the 1972D is an essential piece. It may not break the bank, but its value lies in its role within a larger collection, and in the story it tells a tribute to one of the most remembered U.S. presidents of the 20th century. Next up, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark. Specifically, we'll focus on its features, background, and how much this coin is worth in today's market, especially when found in circulated condition with typical wear and tear. To begin, the Kennedy half dollar series was introduced in 1964, just months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. This coin was created to honor his legacy, and it quickly became a symbol of national respect. Since then, it has been minted every year, although its composition and usage have changed over time. The 1973 Kennedy half dollar holds a special place in this series. not necessarily because of rarity, but because of its interesting context and how it has been perceived by collectors. Let's start with some background about this specific coin. In 1973, Kennedy half dollars were produced in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coins from Philadelphia do not carry a mint mark, which is standard for that mint. Coins from Denver are marked with a D, and San Francisco minted only proof coins marked with an S. So if you have a 1973 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. One key thing to note about 1973 is that the Kennedy half dollar was not released into general circulation. These coins were only issued in U.S. mint sets that year, which means any example you find in circulation today originally came from one of those sets. That's an important distinction because it helps explain why these coins can sometimes show up in better condition than other coins from the same era, even if they've since been handled or lightly worn. Now turning to the technical details of the coin itself, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar is composed of copper nickel clad, which means it has a core of pure copper with outer layers of a copper nickel alloy. This was standard for coins produced after $19 when the U.S. Mint stopped using silver in circulation. Half dollars. Each coin weighs about 11.34 grams and has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll see the profile of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The reverse features the presidential seal, designed by Frank Gasp. This design has been consistent across most of the Kennedy half dollar series. When assessing the value of a 1973 half dollar without a mint mark, it's important to consider condition first. Most of these coins, especially when found in circulated condition, are considered common. They were minted in large numbers, over 64 million at the Philadelphia Mint alone. Because of this, the base value of a circulated 1973 Kennedy half dollar is closely tied to its face value, which is 50 cents, or possibly a small premium if it's in good shape. If you have one of these coins in average circulated condition, meaning it shows clear signs of wear but still has visible details, then the market value today is typically between 50 cents and $1. Dealers may not offer more than face value for such coins because they are still relatively easy to find and not considered rare. Coins in slightly better condition, such as those that might grade at about uncirculated, can fetch a little more. In this grade, a 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark might be worth around $1.50 to $3. These are coins that have minimal wear and maintain much of their original luster, though they've likely been handled. If you have a coin that appears to be in mint state condition, that is, with no signs of wear and only minor handling marks, it could be valued higher. Mint state coins can range from MS60 to MS65 or higher, depending on the sharpness of the strike and how clean the surfaces are. In MS63 to MS65 condition, a 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark might be worth between $4 and $10 on the open market. For coins graded and slabbed by professional services such as PCGS or NGC, prices may go even higher if the coin grades MS66 or better. High-grade examples are less common and are often sought after by collectors looking to complete registry sets or build quality collections. A 1973 Kennedy half dollar in MS66 condition might sell for $30 to $50 or more, depending on the demand. At the time of sale, at MS67 or higher, which is quite rare for this date, the price could reach into the hundreds. However, it's important to remember that value is always influenced by market conditions, demand, and the individual appeal of a specific coin. A coin with strong eye appeal, great luster, and no noticeable blemishes will always draw more attention from collectors than one that looks average, even if they technically have the same grade. Another factor that can slightly influence value is any unique error or variety. While no major recognized errors are associated with the 1973 Kennedy half dollar from Philadelphia, minor strike errors or die varieties might appeal to specialists. These are rare and would need to be authenticated to command a premium. In conclusion, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark is a widely available coin that holds historical value, more than significant monetary worth, at least in circulated condition. Its typical market value today, in normal wear, is between 50 cents and $1. Only coins in exceptional condition or with certified high grades carry meaningful premiums. Whether you're collecting for fun, looking to complete a set, or just curious about the change in your pocket, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar remains a fascinating piece of American numismatic history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin content. See you, and next time, happy collecting.